Hello YouTubers, RogueMonkeyJr. here. It's no secret that the past few Battlefield launches have been less than stellar. Battlefield 5 having horrendous marketing, a subpar launch, and support for it being dropped early because it wasn't getting the numbers they had hoped for. And Battlefield 2042 losing over 50% of its player base less than 2 weeks after launch doesn't paint a pretty future for the franchise as a whole. Granted, Steam's numbers aren't the global player base across all platforms, but it does depict a grim picture for what might be ahead for the title. Whether you are currently having fun or not with Battlefield 2042, objectively, the game released far too early. It could more than likely have used another 6 months to a year so it could be launched in a polished state rather than in, as far as I'm concerned, a beta state at best. I personally am having fun with the game in certain situations, but it is getting increasingly difficult to overlook the problems with the game, and the rose-tinted glasses period is starting to wear off for seemingly quite a substantial amount of players. It is sad to see a franchise I have spent years playing and enjoying being treated the way it is now. Hell, I'd even go so far as to say that I feel bad for the devs who worked on the game and were forced by higher-ups and shareholders to release their labor of love to the consumer in such a condition. I couldn't imagine being treated that way after having given years of your career to develop a game and it being released and being received in such an overwhelmingly negative way. It is no wonder so many senior devs have been jumping ship over at EA DICE with the way the past 2 launches have gone, and I have no doubt that most of them left because they were seeing the way the franchise was heading and the direction that was pushed by higher ups. It is a very short-sighted thought process to release games in poor states just to beat the holiday sale window. You increase your yearly earnings somewhat to, in turn, tarnish the reputation of an established franchise when instead, you could delay the game another year and more than likely make far more money with a product that launches, polished as ever, as I'm sure players would be a lot more likely to purchase microtransactions and battle passes in a game that is indeed highly polished and bug-free. And what sucks is that in the end, they will try to shift the blame onto others when in fact, they should only have themselves to blame. The higher-ups and the executives, that is. They should have learned from Battlefield 5, and in fact, a good leader is capable of taking responsibility for his actions and decisions, but most importantly, is willing to learn from them. I myself work for a small app company with shareholders, and we constantly have delays that cost us and the shareholders money, but in turn, we don't release new versions plagued with issues all the time, and I'm glad that they see the bigger picture in all of it. I have no doubt that DICE is likely capable of turning the game around with subsequent patches, but making a good first impression is always so important and, well, Battlefield 2042 didn't do that. Players that have already left might never come back, and ones that do will probably not make in-game purchases, and who can blame them really? You wouldn't go out and buy a product from a company after having a bad experience the first time, so why would they do that with Battlefield 2042? With EA's track record of live service games, the longevity promised for Battlefield 2042 is worrisome, considering that Battlefield 5 and Battlefront 2 both got support axed for them long before they were due, even more so for Battlefield 5. Hell, I'd even go so far as to say it is scary for DICE in my opinion, as EA is, let's say, not afraid to shut down an entire studio when the products they are forced to release in broken states fail to meet sales projections / earning expectations. But that could still be a few years or failed releases down the line, but worrisome nonetheless. I'm a mostly optimistic person, but it is difficult as a die-hard Battlefield fan to see the light at the end of the tunnel. At this point, we are far beyond the point of being abused by EA with their treatment of the Battlefield franchise, a franchise beloved by many gamers. With the gaming industry being as competitive as ever, it is easy for consumers to find a gaming experience they enjoy elsewhere, and most importantly, find a dev company or publisher that sees them as more than a walking bag of money ripe for the picking. I'm not afraid to say that I'm a sucker for a Battlefield game, but at a certain point, I'm going to have to say enough is enough, cut my losses, and find entertainment and experiences similar to Battlefield in another game. Even Battlefield doesn't really feel like Battlefield anymore, unless of course you play Portal. It just seems as though they were checking off a bunch of boxes made by a marketing or sales team rather than giving fans what they so crave. 128 player wow factor number at the expense of playable frame rate, check. A new specialist system most likely developed for Hazard Zone and as a way to sell skins at the expense of classes that offer a true Battlefield experience, check. And I could go on, but I digress. This video isn't a rant about Battlefield 2042, but rather a look at the franchise as a whole. I said this in another video, but I'm saying it again. Buying Battlefield right now is paying to be part of a gigantic playtest, and that's the harsh truth behind it all. Well, finally, to wrap up this whole video, I would like to end with a quote from Henry Ford to EA Dice, and it reads like this: "The only real mistake is the one from which we learn nothing," which I do think applies nicely here. But anyways, that will do it for this video. As always, thanks for watching, I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.